Hello everyone. So recently, one of my friend reached to me regarding the issue they are facing while running the backup. Okay, they schedule the MySQL dump backup, and during the backup they are hitting so many logs, which increasing the connections, and they are also running with some memory issues. Those things are happening during the backup process. Okay, then I then I asked her command and I tried to review it. Seems like some flags are missing in the command. Then I given some suggestions. Okay, but I would also had that thought to make one video to explain that. Okay, they are having the NODB table, so we can try to avoid the logs with by tuning that command. So I thought to have list this video, and also just a overview, like your backup should be consistent, right? So during the MySQL dump backup, if your tables are hitting huge writes, concurrent writes, then your backup may not consistent. So it is good to have the logs. I mean, completely log the table, then you can take the backup for the. I would recommend to that for the MySum tables for the consistent backup. But InnoDB, we can handle the situation much better using the flag single transaction. Okay, using the single transaction, we can take the consistent backup even with the concurrent writes. So let's see how this is working. We will see two scenarios, like without single transaction and with single transaction. So firstly, let me go to this, and here I have two tables already created. Oops, I have a lot of tables, but yeah, that is fine. We can ignore the other tables. We can use the SP test one, and we can use the test table. Okay, let's start from test. Here we have just around 6 record, and select count of star from SP test one. Here we have, I think we have one crore record. Okay, so we have some huge records. So during the backup, we need to test something. So I just created this big table, and we have one small table which is test. So what we are going to do is first is I am going to enable the general log, and I am going to execute two MySQL dump command with single transaction and without single transaction for this test table. Okay, then we can see what are the statements are executed during the backup for with single transaction and without single transaction. So first, set global general log equal to 1. So you might aware of this general log, right? So using this general log, we can collect all the queries statements executed. So here I just enable the general log, and my general log location is show global variables like. So this is my general log file. So let me tile this log file in the next session. Okay, so here I am just going to tile, so we can review once we executed the command. Now first I am going to execute the MySQL dump command. So now without single transaction, I am going to take the backups, read database, and test. Okay, and test.sql. Okay, so the backup is completed. You can check this backup file. For the test database, we have the structure and we have the data insert statement for to insert the data. Okay, now let's see the general log. So here this much of statements are executed for this backup without single transaction. So here you can see, so using the socket, this is connection, and there is some session variables. So here I would like to pinpoint this one, log tables, table name with read. Okay, so this log table is executed, then the backup is happening. So this is the query executed for the backup, and once the backup is completed, finally it is executing the unlocked tables. Okay, so these are the three things here mainly I would like to explain. Lock tables, table name, read. Okay, this is a read lock, which means your current session can read and the other sessions also can read the table, but it will not allow the writes. Okay, so it activate the read lock, then it is taking the backup, and finally it unlock the tables. Okay, so this is the process happening without single transaction. So this is what I am written here. It is giving the read lock on the table, other sessions can read but not write. Okay, then the backup is happening, and finally once the backup is completed, then finally it unlock the tables. Okay, so this is the flow without single transaction. Now let's see how, what is the, now let's see the flow of with single transaction. Okay, so I am executing the same command but now with single transaction. Okay, and I'm executing, backup is completed. Now let's see the general log. So these are the logs generated. So here the connections happen and session variables. Now here you can see flush tables with read log. Okay, so here also it acquire the read log, and the flush table means it will close and open, close and reopen the table in the disk level. So in this case, no other transaction, once the table is closed and open, no other transactions are pending for this table. So when the table opens, it is setting the transaction isolation level to repeatable read in the session level. Okay, in the backup session level it is setting the transaction isolation level to repeatable read. Then it is also starting the transaction, start transaction with consistent. So this is for the consistent snapshot. So that, so with single transaction, it is closing and reopening the table in disk level. So when it is opening, there is no other connections for the table, and it will note the point at the, when the table opens, what is the table status, I mean how much data is there. It will take the snapshot of that. Okay, with the repeatable read isolation, and it will start the transaction. Then it will unlock the tables. Okay, for this I mean for the start transaction and this setting the, for these two commands only, it needs the log. Okay, otherwise after, for during the backup it don't need the don't need the don't need any logs. Okay, because when we set the repeatable read isolation, it will take the snapshot of the current data, then it will just take, it is going to take the current state of the data as a backup. Okay, during the backup if you write something new in your table, it will not affect. Okay, it will just take the current snapshot as a backup. So to get the current snapshot correctly, it is doing this log, and it is closing and opening the table. Once it is getting the snapshot, current snapshot, it will be quick. Okay, it will take not take much time, it will be quick. It will unlock the tables, then it is starting the backup. Here you can see this is the query to execute the backup. If your table size is big, then it will execute multiple times, it will carry the data, those things happens. And that's it. Okay, so this is the flow with the single transaction. So here I summarize. First it will do the flush table with read log. So in that case, close and open the table in disk level. Then it will set the isolation level to repeatable read. To, for the consistent snapshot, it will start the transaction. Then it will take the current state of the data as a backup. During the backup, if there is any writes happen in your table, it will not take it. Okay, it will never mind about that. It will just take the current state as a backup, and it will also do the unlock tables at the point. So it will be quick, your table is not going to lock many time, I mean huge time. Okay, within a seconds this happen, then it will do the backup. Okay, so now let's see the real-time example. So this is I would like, here is the process. So let me quickly give an overview about this. With this single transaction, this is locking the table, and it is backing up, and it will unlock the table. Okay, well, if your table is huge, then your backup time will also take some time. During that time, your table will be locked, it will not allow the writes. Okay, but here, even your table is big or small, it just need the lock for this taking the snapshot only for this repeatable read, setting the isolation level to repeatable read, and for the start transaction only. Once it is getting the consistent state, then it will release the lock. After that only it is going to take the backup. Okay, so during the backup, your writes will be allowed. Okay, so I will show you here. So now we can execute the same backup command for the SB test1 table. Okay, and so in this session I will execute the backup. And here I will write something during the backup. For example, select max of id from SB test1. Okay, select star from SB test1 order by id in this one, limit 1. Okay, so I will prepare one insert statement, insert into SB test1 values. ID is the primary key, so I'm just going to change 6 to 7, and I'm going to keep the remaining data same. It will not be a problem. And so this insert we will do during the backup, and we will see whether this is going to be locked or not, with and without single transaction. Okay, so I just prepared the insert here. It is not executed yet, and in this session we will monitor the show process list. Okay, so these are the things I prepared. And before that, I would like to disable the general log because I don't have much disk space. Set global general log, because we already see, right, the purpose of the general log. We already see the flow of the commands. So now let me start the backup with first without single transaction 3 and SB test1. This is quite big table, and the backup will take some 15 seconds. SB test1 dot SQL. Okay, carefully see here. We are executing this backup without single transaction, and I started the backup, and I'm here. I clicked. The table name is wrong. Let me correct it here. SB test1, and I think the backup is going to complete here. I will trigger again. Okay, so I am again starting the backup without single transaction, and here given this insert, you can see this is not executed, and you can see the insert is getting lock, waiting for table metadata lock, because as we see here, during the backup it will occur the read lock, so the other sessions can read, but the other sessions cannot write. So that is the reason, when during the backup, if I execute this insert, that was not completed. It was with waiting for table metadata log. And you can see once the backup is completed. So once the backup is completed, the insert is also completed. It took around 13.25 seconds. That is because of the lock. Okay, now we can prepare one more insert, and we can execute during the another backup with single transaction. Okay, so I am executing with 8 now. And also just notice the current, let me show here, select max of id from sri.sb test1. So the current max id is 7. Okay, it is just ending with 7. Just notice that. And now I am starting the backup, hyphen single transaction. Okay, so previously we executed without single transaction, so it get the lock inserts, or was locked with the waiting for table metadata lock. Now I am executing the backup with single transaction, and we can see backup started, and I am executed. It is quick, and there is also no lock. You can see just the backup command is running. Okay, so you can see here, once we go with the single transaction command, there is no lock. The insert is completed quickly. Okay, and without single transaction, the backup was, the query got the lock, and it take around 13 seconds after the backup completed. Only once the uh, lock released, with this unlock tables, once the lock is released, then only the insert statement was executed. Okay, so now this backup is also completed. So here we see, with the backup with single transaction, we can able to execute the insert. Okay, we can write on the same table. Here, one more thing I would like to say. This insert we executed during the backup, right? So in this case, let's see this ID 1 crore 8, which is in the backup or not. So let's review this backup. SB test1.sql and shift G. I'm just going to down. Okay. So here you can see this is the last ID, right? Yeah. So this is the last data. So here you can see this is 10606, and here this is the last data in the backup. Okay. So let me copy this to here. So this is 7. But here you can see we executed this insert during the backup, right? During the backup, we executed this 8. But in the backup, we have 7 is the last data. So the reason is, as I told, when we executed the backup with the single transaction, it will close and reopen the table. Then it will take the current state of the data. Okay, it will take the current state with the start transaction and repeatable read, and it will take the current state as a backup. So during the backup, if you are writing the table with a single transaction, it will be never backup. Okay, to maintain the consistency on your backup, it will take the current state as a backup. Okay, so hopefully this example is better to understand how this single transaction with and without single transaction is working, and how the single transaction is impacting your backup with logs. Okay, and this single transaction option is useful for the InnoDB. And as I told, if you are having more concurrent writes in your other engines like MySQL tables, then I would recommend to lock the table and take the backup for the consistent backup. So I think this is useful. Maybe if you have some further questions or comments, you can reach me in the video, or you can directly reach me in the LinkedIn or call. Okay, I'm also doing the MySQL training. So if someone is interested, you can reach me. And as usual, if you like this video, just share with your friends, and subscribe my channel for more MySQL and related technology videos. Thank you. Thank you very much.